Which yeast for what brew? How y'all was, I reckon. This is Gator with Shoal Creek Brewery. Today we're going to talk a little bit about yeast. There's many yeast companies out there, but today I've studied and researched on fermenters, the SAF brands and the strains. The first on our list is SAF US05. Now that's your all-around workhorse yeast, the number one yeast used by home brewers. Why? Well, this strain of yeast ferments a wide temperature range between 60 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Most commonly used for pale ales, IPA, some use it in blondes, cream ales, and stations, and stouts. Okay, sorry, I'm reading off my notes here. I can't memorize it all. SAF 05 is easily obtainable and it's cheap. I mean, everybody pretty much uses it. On the downside, it may or may not flocculate, which means that it won't drop out of suspension all the way. It'd be like a bread yeast in an apple cider. That bread yeast leaves little stringy particles, you know. And you can't really get rid of it, you know, even after racking and straining. You're still gonna have a little bit of flocculation in your end product. And it's good for hoppy beers. Gives off neutral flavors and sometimes diacetyls, diacetyls, which diacetyl is an off flavor, you know. Say like if you got an apple that you've had sitting on your counter for a few days, you know, when it starts turning brown, it doesn't have all that apple flavor. It's got that little off flavor. That's what diacetyls are. And moving on to SAF S04, which is the most commonly used second to 05. It's great for a wide variety of beers like classic style IPAs all the way to porters. It's traditionally English strain, produces very clean, fruity flavor profiles, very versatile strain compared to S05. I mean, it'll do, you know, just about like a S05, but it probably does a little bit more. It has a very nice rounded mouthfeel. And it's great. It's also good for hazy IPAs. Now, next on the list is the SAF K97. That's a German ale yeast, which is great for, well, German wheat beers. Like a Hefeweizen, can be used in hazy IPAs as well as cream ales and Oktoberfest styles, albeit not really a lager strain. But K97 can be fermented between 59 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, which in lagers are primarily fermented at 58 degrees, you know, or a little bit lower. It can go all the way up to 68 degrees. It will produce a rich and creamy flavor profile, you know, just like an Oktoberfest, you know. It's got that great mouthfeel and that great body. And it has a very low flocculation, which means it'll fine out easier. You'll have a lot clearer beer, you know, than that S05. Yeah. Yeah. Where am I on SO? Anyway, no, this is a K97. I'm sorry. I got lost it for a minute. Anyway, we're going to move on to SAF WD06. It's ideally for wheat beers again. Again, for a Hefeweizen. It has a sweet, round banana character in your esters. And it's also can be used for a Dunkelweizen. And now we're going to move on to a Saflager W3470, which is a good all-around lager yeast. It can be used for a huge variety of beers. Can be fermented as low as 49 degrees all the way up to 70 degrees. It's mostly a lager yeast, but you can use it in other, like porters and stouts, things like that. It's got neutral flavors and aromas, which means a very clean, crisp tasting beer, as you would expect from a lager. You know, let the hops come through, let the hop flavors come through, with no diacetyls, you know, which means again no off flavors. One huge downside though is your water chemistry. Now with this 3407, this K97, you're going to want your water pH to be about 5.3 to 5.4. If you use some tap water, you can cut it with the distilled water to get your pH down to 5.3 or 5.4. You'll just have to experiment, you know, what your ratio of distilled to tap water would be to reach that pH level. Or just use gallon jugs of spring water. You know, that should be a good enough pH. Yeah, you just have to experiment if you're using distilled water with your tap water. Now we're going to move on to SAF Brew 258. It can be used for a Saison IPA. Characteristics are a very estery, somewhat peppery and spicy flavor. And I'm all for that because I just made my jalapeno cascabel the other day. It's great for Saisons, more of a French Saison due to the esters versus a Belgian Saison. You know, again, this strain is also great for a Hefeweizen as well. You know, like in my once in a blue moon, I used coriander, you know, for that spicy, peppery flavor into my Hefeweizen. Now we're going to go to Saflager S33. It's almost the same as a 3470, but with just different different characteristics. It is a medium final gravity, which is not a high gravity, anywhere between 5.5 to a 6.0 ABV. Temperature ranges from 51 to 75, ideally 51 to 59, again, for your lager temperatures. Has a crisp, classic American-style lager finish with a slight ester profile. Again, not much different than the 3470 lager strain. It has a smaller fermentation temperature. You know, this is truly a lager strain, you know, versus the 3470, which is a versatile lager strain, but this one is truly a lager strain. Now we're going to the SAF Brew S33. Characteristics are general purpose yeast for a wide variety of specialty beers like your Belgians and your triples and wheat beers. Again, a Hefeweizen. The final gravity is really high. Temperature range runs from 53 to 77 degrees, ideally 59 to 68 degrees. Most commonly used for Irish ales, Scottish ales, New England IPAs, and it has a slightly fruity ester aftertaste to it. again, yeast. There's many different companies that produce yeast, and I'm just touching on the fermenters. You know, the ones that make the SAF. I'm not done all my research yet on the wine yeast, but I'll get into a little bit of it. Your wine yeast is, you know, Lavlin D47, Lavlin D71B, and of course your Lavlin EC 1118, which is a champagne yeast. Now, champagne yeast, you can use it with any wine. It's not necessary for a champagne, but it'll make it, you know, a little bit drier. You might have to back sweeten a little bit. Uh, but the EC 1118 is a higher gravity strain. You know, you can reach upwards to 21% ABV, whereas your D47 is like maybe a 10 to a 13, and your 71B would be a 13 to a 15, and then your 1118 is 15 and above, you know. But again, you probably have to back sweeten maybe a little bit unless you like a dry wine. But that's about all I got for today. Join us next week. We'll talk about some hops. Until next time, till next Sunday, Shoal Creek Sunday Chat. This is Gator and She Gator. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.